Right, a little bit about fertiliser and feeding your pumpkins this week. Firstly, if you're a new grower or you want to perhaps start to grow pumpkins with your kids or your grandkids, if you have 150 square feet of ground outside, there's actually a competition for a pumpkin grown in 150 square feet. That's about the right amount of ground you need. If you can get 300, 400, 500 square feet, even better. And I think if you were to put 1 inch or 2 inches of well-rotted horse manure on, that would break your soil up and allow the little roots to get in there better. And it'd also give you your nitrogen for next year. And that's a really good way of just getting started. But we go do things to a higher level than that because we have to. So if you look at our soil sample that we had at the end of last year, that's the soil sample we're going to use to correct for next year. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with a base dressing to sort of get everything about right. And then next year, through the season, we're going to do lots of soil samples and we're going to correct tiny little amounts to get it exactly right. Now, if I explain, all these fertiliser mostly are salts, and you can see that on our soil sample it recommends that we have a salt level of around 2,600. Ours is 2,500. You want it as low as possible, really. So you want your pumpkin to have all the nutrients it wants, but you don't want it to have any more, because you have any more, like potassium, it wants 400. If you give it 500, you're making it more salty. And we want the plant to have, and the pumpkin to have, exactly what it wants and no more. So if we look down at what we're going to put on, the phosphorus is correct, but it always recommends that we put on a little bit of triple superphosphate, because phosphate's quite hard for the plants to grab out the soil, and triple superphosphate gives it a good fighting chance of getting some early. So we put a bit of triple superphosphate on. Going on down the list, potassium's a little bit low, and it tells you exactly what to put on, which is great. You know, it's simple stuff. So a bit of potassium nitrate, and then all the way down to the bottom, and nitrogen's a bit low. It's always ends up a bit low. So we'll add a bit of sulfate of ammonia for that. So that's our base dressings. Now we use Landcrop out in the States. You might use Western Labs. I think they use that out in the States. But you can have a look at the parts per million on our chart. And we've worked quite hard over the years and talked to lots of people about how they get on, and all those figures are about right. So potassium 400, nitrogen 100, the boron we want to get to 4, 5, 6 parts per million, and what they say is that calcium is the truck but boron's the driver. That's our good friend Ronnie Wallace taught us that. It's very important to get your boron up a bit. Ours is normally 3, and that's not high enough. So we'll put a bit more boron on later on, and we'll show you how to do that later on. But it's only tiny amounts, and you can't really physically spread that small amount over. So we'll add that a different way later. So simple stuff really. We're just going to give it exactly what it wants and no more. And as we do our soil samples next year, I'll take you through what we do to correct it. And that's all.